Tonight, a big breaker, a shocker in the case against Casey Anthony. Prosecutors announced they will, yes, they will seek the death penalty against the 23-year-old for the murder of her precious 2-year-old daughter, Kaylee. This huge announcement comes just days after Casey's parents, George and Cindy Anthony, sat through grueling, confrontational depositions in the Zanny the Nanny civil case against Casey. When Casey was indicted back in October, remember that? Prosecutors said the death penalty off the table. At that point, they had no body. They seemed to maintain that stance even after Kaylee's remains were found close to the Anthony home in December. So why the change now, more than 4 months later? And will Casey's attorney, Jose Baez, even be allowed to defend her? Reports say he doesn't have the experience required by the Florida bar to defend a death penalty case. So many issues. Let's go straight to my expert panel. John Morgan, Zenaida Gonzalez's attorney. Drew Findling, Atlanta criminal defense attorney. And back with me, Mark Eiglarsh, criminal defense attorney. Mark, this is huge news. The state now seeking the death penalty against Casey. Why do you think they're doing this now, and how does this change the whole equation with this case?
Well, only they know. My guess is that they put all the pieces together finally, little by little. They don't just make this decision overnight. And no, it has nothing to do with these depositions. This was in play for a while. But it changes the case significantly. I agree with you. This is I'll let you get away with blockbuster, bombshell, and shocking on this one.
Thank you.
All three apply because, first of all, it extends the start of this trial for at least another year, year and a half. So I think Obama will start giving his re-election speeches by the time we start with this trial.
Are you kidding me? Are you serious?
No, I'm not. I'm not. You have a whole penalty phase now after the guilt phase, assuming it's a first-degree murder conviction, and that has nothing to do with the evidence. It's all about her mitigating factors. That's going to take us many more years, and this is very significant because now you're going to death qualify the jury, which means you're going to have to ask jurors, can you impose the ultimate sanction of death if you find in favor of the prosecution and vote for first-degree murder? And if so, you're getting rid of all the liberal jurors. You got conservative jurors that are left.
Wow. This is, I got to tell you, this is such a stunner because in the past, Drew Findling, they said they were not seeking the death penalty, and we all kind of got resigned to that. I, for one, applaud this decision. And I say that with the caveat, I'm not really sure if I'm in favor of the death penalty or I'm not, because I go back and forth. If there's a horrific crime, sometimes I say, give them the death penalty, and then other times I think it's uncivilized. But if you're going to have a death penalty, it has to be enforced fairly. And it doesn't matter whether the suspect or the defendant is a young woman or whether she's pretty or whether she's white or whether she's young. None of that should matter. And unfortunately, the stats show that it does matter. And I'm glad that this case hopefully is a step in the right direction. What do you think?
I disagree with you, and I'll tell you exactly why. All we ever do is we bash Baez. Everybody's bashing Baez. Well, you know what? This is a clueless and a prosecution team that's without leadership. That is exactly why they sit and tolerate videotaping of her when she finds out about her daughter's death. I mean, just stupid decisions are made. And now what they've done, okay, by opening door to this, number one, Baez is gone. So if they think they could take advantage of him, he is not death qualified.
Drew, he's not gone. He's not gone. I know for a fact he's not gone. He'll never leave this case. He's looking, as we speak, for a second chair to handle the death phase, and he's not gone.
I agree with you, but let me say this. I agree with you. He's not death qualified.
All right.
So if the court brings on a death qualified lawyer and somebody that's forensically, not just experts, but forensically on top of their game, everything's wide open right now. The meter reader is going to be wide open right now because that affects the forensic analysis of the body, which is critical in a death penalty case.
All right, hold on. I got to
open.
move on to another big subject, another big announcement today. Cindy and George Anthony giving their first TV interview since Kaylee's remains were found to, want to take a guess? Oprah. The show set to air in May. Now, John Morgan, you're Zenaida Gonzalez's attorney. They were emotional. They were uncooperative. They were confrontational with you and your associates refusing to answer certain questions. Is this hypocritical? I mean, now they're going to go on Oprah and they're going to talk and answer questions?
Well, of course it is. I mean, they say they don't want any publicity, but they're going to go on Oprah. What this is just what I call the alibi tour. And to go out there and to plant reasonable doubt before the trial, and that's all it is.
And does it upset you?
No, because quite frankly, it's their daughter. What they're trying to do is to save her life. I don't like the people. I mean, I got to see her true colors. I mean, when she came at me and She came at Zenaida, and her husband had to restrain her. She likes to be in control. When she came to the deposition, she set up her own video camera to video the entire proceeding. And in the 25 years I've been a lawyer, I've never seen that
well,
done.
actually, I think that's kind of smart, Mark Eiglarsh. I mean, she's stealing a page from Michael Jackson. Remember when he was doing the infamous documentary interview with Martin Bashir? He had his own cameraman videotaping, and they kept videotaping when the other side was turning off the camera, and they got a lot of stuff that could have ultimately had something to do with his acquittal.
Yeah, I don't know her motivation. Perhaps she's got somebody who's willing to buy it. Everybody's willing to buy photos and video in this case.
That's what I'm thinking.
But what John Morgan said is absolutely true. We're now seeing from these depositions that they're setting up this alibi. All of a sudden, they've become key players in this case. Before, they were going to talk about certain aspects of the trial. Now, all of a sudden, this other Zanny exists. And now there's phone numbers and addresses that they had. They're going to be key players in the defense case
All
now.
right. George Anthony butted head with Zenaida Gonzalez's attorneys, and you're looking at one right there, John Morgan. George almost walked out countless times, and they weren't happy with him either. Let's listen to this.
I'm not going to answer anything about the criminal part of this thing. I'm not going to do that.
But you're going to have to.
All right, the bottom line is...
I have to do that, sir, when a criminal case comes up. Not in a civil case, I do not.
I'm either going forward and doing my job, and I'm going to get questions and answers, and I'm not going to get a lecture every question I ask. I am empathetic of his situation, but I'm not going to sit here and be berated every question I ask. Either we're going to do this businesslike and get it done, or we're going to go to the judge and ask him what he thinks about it. What do you want to do? I've had it.
John Morgan, are you going to call him back and try to force him to answer those questions again?
We absolutely are. We're going to go to the judge. We're going to try to have him found, sanctions imposed on him. He's stonewalled. He drug his feet. We suspended the deposition. We're going to go back, ask Judge Rodriguez to rule. We're going to reconvene, and he's going to have to answer the questions. And by the way, we really let them get away with a lot because they came with their lawyer, Brad Conway, who's not Casey's lawyer, and he was speaking all throughout this deposition. He's not even, all he can object to is privilege. And you watch the tapes, you'll see what went on. These people are very much wanting to control the spin.
Oh, I agree with you. I think that it's absolutely a fascinating psychological study, and I think that this was part of a plan, maybe, to inspire sympathy with this confrontation.
And that's what Oprah's going to be all. The reason they are going out there to use Oprah Winfrey to be these sad grandparents who, by the way, came back the night that the body was found. They came back, went to the Ritz-Carlton, feasted on crab puffs and big dinners. That's how upset they were.
You know what? I'll never judge anybody who's lost a grandchild, and I certainly don't know what it's like to be in their shoes, but I do think that the Oprah interview is going to be fascinating. And, Oprah's no pushover. Oprah might end up getting stuff out of them that nobody else has. Gentlemen, thank you. And please come back again.